All right, the Paynes fans. Now, here's a follow-up video on several of the Paynes videos I've already done, and we do have confirmation that the main cast members, such as CJ, Calvin, Malik, Janine, and Jasmine, will be in at least the first couple episodes of the series based off a couple of photos dropped by OWN TV. Now, I just want to do a special video, and I've mentioned this in probably all of my Payne videos, and it's kind of in regards to the Calvin and Miranda situation. Now, a lot of the uproar about the Paynes coming back is the fact that we're going to have an almost entirely new cast of characters, because if you notice in the promotional trailers, the photos, you'll have Curtis and Ella be the main ones who are like speaking behind the scenes. Then of course we have the photo where it's Curtis. I always get Calvin and Curtis mixed up. Curtis and Ella on the sofa. You have Jack A in the background, and then pretty much a bunch of new characters. Some people are like saying like it's the light skinned part of the family. It's not just Calvin. So CJ, I was kind of laughing at that, but it's kind of cool that we have a new cast of characters, showing that Tyler Perry does like to rotate the cast. Not saying that I'm not interested in what the other characters are doing, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be bringing back this show unless he had a good script, and he has faith in these actors and actresses to pretty much change the mold a little bit. Now, what I want to do is talk about Miranda, because that is one of the biggest things people have been talking about. I was like, look, if we're not getting the new cast back, that doesn't make sense. It's like, I want to know what happened to Miranda after she walked out on Calvin. What about Malik? Is he still in college? What about Jasmine? What's she up to? And the twins that CJ and Janine had. So there are reasonable questions that have been raised by this show coming back. Are they going to touch on some of the things that were kind of, I wouldn't say, well, we kind of left on a cliffhanger. Let's just put it that way. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to Miranda, and I've said this before, and this got a lot of comments, I like that. I feel like Miranda should be mentioned in some way, shape, or form, in the fact that in the first two episodes, I'm just speculating that the Payne family, I'm talking about Calvin and everybody else, will be in at least the first two episodes here when they go to Florida. I want to know if it's going to be something that's mentioned in passing, or if it's going to be something that we get, just solid evidence on. Has Calvin moved on? Does he have a new woman in his life? I believe it's been 5 years since House of Payne, ended. So I want to know, if are we going to get like an established time gap? Like, are they going to just tell us it's been 5 years or something like that? I'm not asking for everything to be answered in the first couple episodes, because here's what I would like to see. And again, this is just me thinking out loud here. Not just the Miranda thing, but let's talk about, like CJ and the twins, and, will they be coming along? Because obviously we've only gotten a couple of photos, so we don't know everybody who's going to be in the episodes this week. I just want to know, are there going to be some questions that aren't yet touched upon in the first couple episodes? That way it opens the door for people like Calvin and Malik and whatnot to show up later on in the season to have those questions answered. Case in point, the Miranda thing. Let's say, Miranda isn't even brought up whatsoever in the first two episodes. Let's just speculate that. But let's say when they get, at least by Curtis and Ella. But let's say when they get to Florida and see the extension of the Payne families, pretty much Curtis's relatives in Florida, they ask about, hey, Calvin, weren't you married to a girl and you got babies and everything? It's just like, well, we're not together anymore. I'm just speculating. I would like that to be kind of brought up in passing. Then we kind of know where Calvin is in his life, raising the kids. How is he doing as a man? Is he still single? Has he found somebody else? Is he still, obviously in pain for losing Miranda? If I'm not, and again, I haven't watched House of Payne in a long time, and I remember, and you've heard me talk about how they kept changing the time slots, and I fell behind for quite some seasons. Didn't he meet Miranda when Miranda like robbed him of his wallet or something like that? And then they fell in love, started going out, and then got married, had kids, and then she ran out. Is that what happened? Because if I'm not mistaken, that's what happened. But I'm just thinking that the Miranda could be one of the biggest plots coming up in the Paynes, because I remember in the behind the scenes video, Curtis and Ella were talking about how it's, it's about family, it's about love, it's about fun, but also talking about some tough and important issues on the show, which House of Payne did cover, like gun control, drugs, and the list goes on. Teenage pregnancy. I believe there was also like an HIV or AIDS episode at one point. And there are just a lot of things, say what you want about the show, but House of Payne had a lot of heart. They did cover a lot of tough issues back in the day when it was on the air. So I really feel that the Miranda situation is something that will definitely be brought up in some way, shape, or form. Again, personally, I don't think they're completely done with her character. I think it would be great, especially in terms of character development, if Calvin is at the cusp of, moving on with his life fully. He'll still be in mourning because, that woman was his heart and the mother of their children. So to have him lose that in that cliffhanger ending and then finally make progress to move on in his life, because Calvin got shot back in House of Pain, so I know at one point he was at death's door and had to deal with that. So I really want to see how that's going to be handled in the Paynes. Do you think Miranda's going to be reintroduced, come back into Calvin's life? Will it be at a time where he's on the cusp of moving on? Do you think it's at a time where he's found somebody else? Can you imagine that? Let's say he's in a relationship with somebody and that goes on for a long time. Like Calvin goes to Florida to visit his folks and says, hey, I have a new girlfriend and we've been going out for a few months, and then he gets engaged to be remarried and then Miranda shows up. That will be great. It adds some drama to the show. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. If Miranda does show up in the Paynes, how would you want her to show up again? Would it be at a time that's going to be the worst time for Calvin? Does Calvin still have feelings for her? So you be the one to finish the story in the comment section below, and let's all enjoy the season premiere of the Paynes coming on.